You need to be working with your families and doing that work of figuring out where your homeland was.
Because the whole entire history you've been told is a lie.
We didn't understand that clearly, this is our home. This is our home. So now you have to decide, what are you going to make of it? What are you going to make of your life? Are you going to continue to sit on the sidelines and not even talk to your own family? Are you going to continue to just not even pass on this knowledge to your children, to your cousins, to your neighbors, to your co-workers, to the strangers you meet? Are you going to keep this information to yourselves? Because we are being occupied by more and more people who feel like they are greater and better and have more rights than you. America is our home, and everybody else is occupied. Until we actually make that clear, until we actually have that ringing from the mountaintops, we're never going to be free. But y'all won't even tell your own family. Y'all probably sat around Thanksgiving. Did y'all have a real conversation about the history of us? A real conversation about who we are? A real conversation about, let's look into our genealogy, let's dig a little deeper? We need to understand that if we don't take control of our own perspective, if we don't take control of what we give power to, we're always going to be oppressed. We're not going to win until we decide to win. Are we going to be the peasants, the ignorant peasants that have existed? The companies that had all the good benefits, that you could get a house, you could buy nice cars, you could have nice things, you could send your kids to school. Those companies are gone. Here. Until we saw the books that record us as having thick lips, dark chestnut brown skin, thick gross hair, until we saw that in writing.
All the kings of European nations basically had something we call FUCK, and it was fornicate under command of king. So that's what they did. They were to go in and kind of white out the indigenous people by forcing their genes into these people's populations. But they have thought to change times and laws because they want the indigenous people to the earth, the natural people of the earth, to be thrown off to the point where we're now no longer in the rhythm of the earth, where we don't see seasons, and we see seasons as far as what they say on a calendar, but the earth lets you know when it's time to change those seasons, because the budding of the trees will let us know that it's fall, or whether it's spring, or when things start to die and there's nothing alive, that's winter. They even thought to change the beginning of the year into winter, when basically all indigenous people celebrated the beginning of the year in the spring, when things start to come to life. So that's why we're all kind of off on course, because we're going by a calendar. Same thing with the clock. You know when it's daytime because the sun comes up. You know when the sun goes down, it's night. But now we have to look at the clock to see what time it is. We have to know what hour, and we start the day at midnight, which is crazy, instead of sunrise.
The slave codes even indicate so many things that you could not do to a slave, and so many penalties that a white person would have for injuring a slave, and they couldn't go to work, things of that nature. They had a bunch of insurance policies, but it was very remarkable that so many people had centenarians, people that lived well into the hundreds.
Don't let anybody confuse you. They could be indigenous Indians. They could be an Indian group and still mixing you up, still leading you in the wrong direction because you're not focusing on what you need to focus on, which is your family.
But trust and believe, there was evil stuff going done to our families to make them shut down and not talk about anything, and to make them scared to talk about it. So, because of that, a lot of us are divided. We don't know our cousins. We don't know our distant cousins. We don't know who belongs here, who don't belong here. But let me tell you, when you start doing your research, and the first thing you need to do is start looking for folks. Because when I started to do my research and find out, okay, wait a minute, just going back, Revolutionary soldier, Indian, Cyprus, Judas Cyprus, 1610, Indian, had 3 sons, went to the Revolutionary War, Indian, because you had rights as an Indian. You could carry a gun, you could buy land, you could do stuff. But as a Negro, a color, oh, no. In fact, they're just trying to put you in slavery. And the way they put you in slavery was money, the same way they enslave us now.
Preserved a whole lot of stuff here. Like, it's one of the best preserved plantations in Virginia. And they still have this cauldron where they would either do laundry and make soap and do all kinds of things with. There's an orangery. And I was like, always not, what's an orangery? They actually had an actual house where they could keep oranges, where you could keep the trees from the winter months weather, and so you could have oranges year round, or have oranges in a climate that's not really hospitable to that fruit, which is really hoity-toity in my opinion. Like, you got an orangery? Okay, what's that about? But who did all this? We did. Okay, we did. So my big mama, she grew up here, right? She grew up on this plantation. She worked on this plantation till she was like 70 years old. And she was taking care of the old people, cooking. We were known as the cooks, as you know. Y'all ate my sister's food, so we known as the cooks. We cooked, so we were known for that. But what's crazy is even to this day, family live, that's not the house. It's a house further down in the trees. There's a cousin of somebody who used to work here, and she and her husband is a caretaker, and she lives here. They live in a house on the property, so it stays like that. We have also, they shut things down, they turn down businesses because they don't want us to stay, live, thrive, nothing. Even at the risk of having their own kids leave, which they have. They did that. That's their mentality. That's serious. Yeah. But see, that's how much they know our history's like that. That's how much they fear that they know if anybody here actually was to work on us and think about, oh, wait a minute, I belong, this is that's why they don't want nothing to thrive. Like even where we were staying on the beach, you see how them houses are not even really fixed up? Right. They ain't trying to fix them up for a reason, because they know that is not owned. That entire street is leased. It's all leased, like 40-year leases and stuff.
I totally agree with the part where she's saying we got to talk about the history, good, bad, and indifferent. That's part of our heritage and nothing to be ashamed of. We've been running away from talking about plantations, talking about slavery, talking about some of the things that our ancestors been through. But I know those things have got to change in order for us to get to the next level. If we don't understand our history, we're doomed to repeat it. And it didn't look good for us. Things are looking up now, and I'm super excited about where the Indians going.
I think this is one of the most magnificent, beautiful things that we can do. The Accomackes are really bringing things together. They are out there putting the information that African Americans are putting out there, and it's bringing a reality to things that people haven't really seen before. So can't say that enough. This is one of the most enlightened, positive things that has happened for our community for a very long time. Tribe up, wise up, as they say, and become what you're supposed to be, and get out here to the plantations as well and take a look around and see exactly where you truly do come from. Don't let them tell you history that's a lie.
the reason why I call us America is because that's where we ascended from. We ascended from her soil. So when people ask me, who am I always say America. I don't even say American. If you look up the word in the 1828 dictionary, it says it refers to the copper colored people. But after that, it says, but now.
But now, that's right, it refers to Europeans.
To Europeans. So that's why I just took the N off and just called myself America. The reason being is because this earth was created perfectly. Meaning that everything that was on this earth was there for her people, in which all of us ascended from her. All you have to do, and this is what I tell most people, if you want to meet yourself, go in the woods and say hello to yourself. Because if you go in those woods, and whenever you go, take somebody with you. Take one of your family members, somebody like that with you, and look at each other, and you will see how you blend in everything. Everything in those woods, you blend right in with it. That's true. I mean, you look at the bark on the trees. Tell me the bark on the trees don't look like this man's dreadlocks right there. You look at all, and somebody was mentioning it earlier. Look at all the colors. You know somebody, every color in those woods. You autumn, and those leaves change. They change to different colors and everything. Guess what? You know somebody that color. From the browns to the oranges, the reds, the yellows, all of it. You know somebody that color.
Because as we heard all over this weekend with the Accomackes, as they've been looking up their heritage through American Indians, not African Americans or black,
Right.
they've been finding a lot of Indian land that belongs to them from their forefathers.
Right.
And they would never been able to find it if they were looking as an African American.
Right.
Or a black American.
Right.
You have absolutely no history there.
Right.
All your history is based in American Indian.
To live in hearts we leave behind is not to die.
We do things. We have to understand that the middle class is dissipating on purpose. They're undereducating our children on purpose. If you're not educated, if you're not equipped to teach your kids, if you don't have the patience, the tolerance, and the tools, what's happening to your babies? What's happening to the grandbabies? What's happening to them? If they don't have someone who's equipped to give them what they need.